So as of today is March 27th, 2023. There are an average of 68 cases that were reported in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, which is a 39% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Due to this, we will not be wearing masks in this interview. Is that okay with you?
That is okay with me.
Okay, perfect. Well, now that we got all the official stuff out the way, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Eden Ondachi. I'm 21 years old, a student at Queen's University. I'm a rising senior. I'm a black male. I have dreadlocks coming to around my nose. Currently wearing a black tracksuit, Nike tracksuit. I'm a 6-foot male, athletic type of guy, on the smaller side. But yeah, that's who I am.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for doing that for us. And we're going to just start off super light and then step it up in the deepness department per se. Is that okay with you?
For sure.
Alrighty. So first question, super easy. Where is home for you right now?
Home for me right now is 2 places, Charlotte, North Carolina and Raleigh, North Carolina.
Perfect. And where were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
Nairobi, Kenya.
Kenya. That's nice. Alrighty. And how long have you been in the Charlotte area?
I've been in the Charlotte area for about 2.5 years now.
Okay. Alrighty. So you're pretty familiar with the area, you would say. All right.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, perfect. So we're going to step it up a notch now. We're going to talk more about the pandemic because this is what we're trying to find out more about. Can you please describe your experience in the past 2 years and more so about the pandemic? What was your experience during the pandemic?
So I was a senior in high school when the pandemic started. Around January, we was preparing to go for our senior trip, and there was a lot of things that was at stake. I was at my senior year. I was having the best basketball season of my career. I was planning to go to Israel and graduation. And I was planning on taking my dad to a basketball game, courtside seats. There was just a lot of things I was looking forward to when 2020 started. Leading up to the end of January, it felt like a lot of things just started taking a turn for the worse. You started hearing reports of the bat soup, being in, just like a whole lot of things where it was like, okay, it was in China and things like that. And, people started getting paranoid, but of course it started turning into like jokes and things like that. So there just wasn't nothing much to it. And so February came around, and it's around the time that my senior year, we're getting towards the playoffs and senior night for my basketball season. But there was a lot of corona, and they heard that people were getting sick. It came to the U.S. and so many things was coming out. But ultimately, in March, I'll never forget the date, March 13th. It was March 13th. It was right after my dad's birthday. My senior night was supposed to be on the following Thursday. We was told that it was going to go on a 2-week break and the game was going to be canceled. So, of course, I was devastated. I was hurt. I was struggling. I didn't know how to feel. A lot of things was going on in my head, and I felt like at that point, there was a lot of recognition. I didn't know a scout was coming to that game. I knew so many things was just going to happen. And at that point, of course, it wasn't a pandemic, but it did feel like it was the start. That was when I first felt something like a really bad thing. A lot of people kind of have an experience like they didn't realize it was bad until, maybe later on. But for me, it really started hurting March 13th. So I lost my senior night. I lost my end of the playoffs. I didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs. I knew that I could have brought home something for my school, playing the game in front of all my friends and family was taken away from me. And that really hurt. And also the game I was going to take my dad to got canceled. March 16th, that's when it was like official. Everything was shutting down. And so for about like a couple of weeks, I was really devastated. Like everything was just hurting and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. But then fast forward a couple months, of course, you kind of adjust to it. Everything's becoming normal. Everything's becoming the new normal. Just everybody's not outside. You're inside. You're with your family. You're doing school online. it was really more like a reset, like a hard reset to everything. But it came at such a pivotal moment in my life that it really just hurt for the first few months.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us. That's a lot. That's a lot. I'm sorry that happened to you.
It's okay.
That's wow. Well, you kind of already briefly touched about it, like going into the pandemic. But what do you remember about the early days? Like, what did you do during the lockdown?
Yeah, so I never forget April of 2020 because I did nothing, like absolutely nothing. We wake up, went to online school, and nothing. You're just on social media. Everybody's talking about the same thing. Everything's shut down. There's no sports. There's nothing. There's no going outside. You can't see anybody. Everybody's paranoid. So you wake up and you almost feel like it's a prison. Like there's nothing to do. There's your family, but I live with 3 other people, my mom, my dad, and my sister. So, seeing them, it's cool, but we're only talking about how long is this going to happen? How long is this going to happen? My dad's an essential worker, so he was going in and out the house, but it was almost weird because he would come home and we would have to like stay away from him just a little bit just to be safe because you don't know what's going on. He was getting tested, but it was just weird. Everything was just weird about it. But I just remember doing nothing, like just waking up the same cycle, Instagram, TikTok, social medias, nothing. There's no going outside. There's no working out. I was actually cramping a lot throughout April because I was so active playing basketball and doing so many things that sitting down for a long time, I'll stand up and my muscles would cramp. Like it was just, everything about it was just so annoying and just boring. Like that's what I remember about the first couple months.
Wow. And on behalf of everyone here, please thank your dad on our behalf for being an essential worker during those very, very tough times. You spoke very briefly on having to stay away from your father because, of those times being weird and you don't know what's going on. So how have your friendships or family relationships changed during the pandemic? How were they changed?
Before the pandemic, I think I would have described myself as a social butterfly. Like I like being around a lot of people. A lot of people knew me. I could simply go to the mall and people are like, "Oh, what's up, Eden?" Like, just knowing a lot of people. But once COVID happened and you don't see a lot of people, I started realizing I had a lot of friendships that just weren't deep at all. And they were just all shallow, just friends that you class or you see them at school or you know them from basketball or you know them from this multiple places, but you don't really know them. And I really realized like there were a couple of people that I kept in my circle that I always talked to and I really had a deep relationship with them. I almost put them in the same boat as my other acquaintances and made me realize like there's some people who I really love. There's some people who I really trust. There's some people who I genuinely do have a good relationship with. And it made me strengthen my relationship. It grew my relationship to that level. But it's almost like weird because it was like a give and take. Like I gained so much with the people who I love and we became so much stronger, but I also distanced myself from a lot of other people. So I grew stronger with some people, but I don't really kind of look at the other side. I look at it as the glass is half full instead of half empty in terms of the friendships that I had and lost.
That's a great way of thinking about it and speaking about like perspectives and the way you think of things, the way you see things. What would you say are some of the long-lasting consequences of the pandemic? Now, this can be in a society aspect, or this can be in your personal life. You already kind of touched upon like how you felt like some of your friendships weren't the best or weren't the deepest, but you can now see it in a more society aspect, whatever you like.
I could really talk about this for a while. I'm trying to keep it as short as I can. I really think the pandemic taught me personally.
I'm sorry, do not feel like you have to keep this short. This is your time to express your story. If you want to talk about this for an hour, we can talk about this for an hour.
Appreciate that.
Yes, this is your space, please.
For sure. I felt like for me personally, and I know a lot of people relate to this, but I can't really speak for them. But for me personally, I really, really found my true identity. Things that I like to do, things that I cared about, things that really meant something because in a split second, something that you can plan for can be taken away from me. I was planning to go to college and playing basketball, and I quickly realized basketball just got taken from me in a second. And the reality is in sports, you can get injured and you can have a career-ending injury in a second. But I never thought about it that way because it's almost like it's part of the game. So it's like, okay, I hurt myself. playing the game I love, that's a consequence. But what I didn't know was the consequence that basketball is a privilege, soccer is a privilege, sports is a privilege, and it can be taken away not just by injury, but by a pandemic. So I really learned to really dig deep and find myself like, I know I like basketball, but what do I know? What can I do that is something that's essential, something that's going to be beneficial for me? So I learned a lot of positive things to look to, like personally, I like my relationship with God. I'm a Christian. I found out that a lot of churches stopped meeting together, but it didn't change the fact that there was sermons online, that there was things that I could do. I found myself finding things that really meant something to me, something that could motivate me. Also, another thing that I really liked was during 2020, we had a whole Black Lives Matter movement. Became a big thing during the summer. George Floyd, that incident, RIP to him, but that incident really changed society for the better in terms of being aware that it's not about one life or one race is better than the other. It's just the simple fact that one race is starting to come up more and more in terms of being more equal to another. And it was just I like the fact that our society as a whole started becoming more open and being aware about certain things, even LGBTQ rights and things like that. Like, it was a pretty big deal for a lot of minority groups. And specifically for myself, just being a Black African-American male, it really felt good that we almost had a reason to now bring awareness to this. While everybody's at home and watching the news, everybody's all focused on the same thing. We're talking about the pandemic. Let's talk about something that's important as well. Obviously, health is the number one safety in terms of anybody in this world. But secondly, that also comes to about how you treat other people, whether that's about your health in itself or really just about how you look at them, how you treat them. So I really do like that we made a lot of open changes in our society. So personally, I felt like I found myself and grew to the man I am today. And if it wasn't for the pandemic, I probably wouldn't be at this point. And as a society, I feel like we also took the right steps forward. It's not perfect, but we took some right steps forward.
So that's great to hear. When you think of the pandemic, a lot of people think negatively, and I'm glad to hear someone had some positives of the pandemic and how they grew. That's great to hear, and I love to hear that from you, Eden. So are there any other good things that you learned through your experience during the pandemic? Are there anything that stand out to you other than what you just stated?
I learned that like traveling is a really big passion of mine. I traveled before a lot. My dad's a pastor, so we've gone around the country and around the world, church to church. But I kind of looked at it like it was just a thing that we like to do. But once you almost like you're told you can't travel, it was like, why not? Like, why not? And I really found out that traveling is more than just going from one location to another. Traveling is an adventure. Traveling can just be going 30 minutes away with some friends and things like that. So I found traveling to me brings me a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. Being with friends makes me happy. I really like enjoying spending time with my peoples. We just make the most out of almost anything now. Before the pandemic, of course, we would do things here and there, but after the pandemic, it's like, wow, like you just make fun of not make fun of anything, but make fun out of anything because you realize like it can be taken away in just a second. So cherishing those moments a whole lot more. Those are the two main things. So just the simple fact that being able to travel, especially now, once again, because the pandemic is now coming down more freely, but those are the good things that I took out of it.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you for sharing that.
Right.
That's very nice of you to do. So we talked a lot about your personal life, and we did touch very briefly on the academic version of it. But how did you react? You said you had to go to school online for a brief moment in April. That was your senior year, correct?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. And you went to Queens your freshman year, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you went a semester fully online, asynchronous and all of that. How was that? Tell me your experience about that.
It was weird. If one word I could put it was just weird. I had always envisioned myself going to college and, just living in almost like I love my family, and honestly, it's not. I don't have anything against them. I never wanted to run away from home. Never wanted to be away from them. But it was good to kind of now get into this position where I'm going to be on my own. I'm going to step out, and going into college as a freshman, that was everything that I was also looking forward to. So when we got changed to online, I was actually helping my friend, who I call my brother, move into Winston-Salem. I'm moving in his stuff. I get the email that Queens is now going to be online. I was sat in the car. I was moving box from the car to the room. I sat in the car and I almost started crying because it was another one of those moments where I thought I could get this and it was taken away from me. So going on class, logging on online, being in my room, in my mom's house, in my parents' house, in college, it almost sounds like a 30-year-old man living in his mom's basement. That's how it felt because I'm in college. That's the end of the story. I'm in college and I'm still in my mom's house. Now that's not knocking anybody who's still in their parents' house. I don't think that that's a problem at all. But from my own personal experience, I didn't expect it to be that way. I was fortunate enough to be blessed to have a scholarship to come to Queens University and live on campus. So I was looking forward to that. And the fact that I was not able to do that, it was just weird. But at the end of the day, I think it was really good because I think maybe I would have lost focus on what I really was going to college for. So even though it was weird, it was still good.
I get a little bit more deep into your personal life, but pre this interview, we did do a little assignment, you and I.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to share a little bit about that? Okay, just want to make sure I have confirmation. So what would you like to share about this? What would you like to share about your hand map and what you drew? And I'll give it to you just to have for reference. What stood out to you when drawing this?
So when we started drawing this, the first question was draw or label 5 things on each of your fingers that describes you. And I've always struggled with answering that question, even in job interviews, describe yourself, because you don't know where to start and you don't know where to end. You're trying to figure out what it really is, and when it's really just focusing on yourself. The 5 things that I listed are athletic, funny, caring, smart, and family. Athletic and smart, I feel like those 2 things have come from my parents directly. My mom and dad are 2 of the smartest people I know, if not the 2 smartest people I know. Their hard work, their ethic has made me the guy that I am. My dad was a track star in Kenya. My mom was a swimmer. So my athletic ability has come from genetics. But being funny, caring, those 2 things, I've always loved being energetic, love being fun, love being open and caring, just because I feel like that's the light that I need to be for in any room that I step in. And humor is sometimes the best way to bring that love and care around. But at the end of the day, life isn't always, happiness or, rainbows and sunshine. There's always going to be those moments where it gets hard, it gets thick, especially during the pandemic and things like that. But that's where I really start caring about other people, looking out for people, and just being there for them. And the last thing I wrote down was family. And I think if anything describes me, it's family, because I don't consider my family just the biological people I share blood with. I consider family with people who I care about and who are in my circle, and they're like family to me. My brothers, my sisters, aunts and uncles, who are not even my aunts and uncles, but they're people who I'm always around. And so I also wrote 3 paths. The first path, I said I was lost in the wilderness. The second path was a path to success. And the third path is the fun and foggy road. Lost in the wilderness, I grew up in the church. I grew up by 2 loving parents, and they gave me everything I needed, but I grew up in an environment that didn't have that same type of environment. Grew up around people who were raised by single moms. Grew up with people who have family who are addicts. Grew up with people who have family who are in the prison and justice system. And because they live their life a certain way due to those circumstances, I thought that was the way of life. And I thought that because they did certain things, I wanted to do certain things. And I got involved in things that just weren't for me. And it led me down the wrong path, not just, physically, but for me spiritually. I was doing things I just knew I wasn't supposed to do. I was entertaining crowds I wasn't supposed to be involved in. I got involved in things that still kind of traumatized me to this day. But I was just lost. Like, everything about that was lost. Eventually, I was targeted at my high school, previous high school, by teachers. They always had it out for me. They would pick things out on me that other students would do, but they would accuse me of doing things. Some teachers even lied on my name, to the point where eventually I was asked to leave that school. And at that point, I was at the lowest I had ever been in my life. But at the end of the day, my parents are right there by my side, even through all the pain and the dips and the trenches, really. I was really at my lowest, but that really set me up to be on the path of success. I went to another school, and ironically, the CEO and the principal of that school came from the school that I got asked to leave from. So they completely understood that there was people out there getting me, trying to get me. But in my eyes, I really see that as God getting me out of a mess that I never envisioned myself, or I never even realized that I was in. I was just a decent student. I was good enough. I just did things that was good enough. I never did homework. Got to test. I just knew things. I wouldn't really pay attention, so I just passed with like C's and D's. I wouldn't really care. My GPA coming out of that school was 2.1 or 2.3. Just an average student. But once I got to the other school that I went to, called Iron Academy, my GPA shot through the roof. I became a leader. I became a school leader at that school. I became a captain for my basketball team. I got several awards for basketball, several awards academically. And it led me to a whole different side I never knew that I had in me. And my parents knew that I had it in me, but I didn't see it for myself. But once I got to that school, I saw it for myself. And right when I was about to graduate, my senior year, COVID-19 happened. So it kind of became really like drastic again, or really like dry for me again. Like, there was such a change again. Like, I needed to adapt to it. And I once again felt like I was going through the trenches. But now, like, that's what led me to write down the fun and foggy road, because there's so many things, there's so many positive things that's come out the pandemic. There's so many positive things that have come because of this situation that, but I never saw it coming. So it's kind of like you go through adventures, you're going through life, and I know that I'm smart. I know that I'm gifted. I know that I'm special. And I know I'm chosen by God, but I almost can't see clearly what's ahead of me. But that's what makes it fun. So that's why I wrote my last one as of the fun and foggy road. And also talked about what gives you strength, what motivates you, or what did you get out of COVID-19? And I said strength and friendships and my identity. And I already touched on that, so I'm not really going to say too much again. But the main thing that supports me outside of myself is God, and that has to be number one. If it wasn't for Him, I wouldn't be in certain situations. I wouldn't be blessed with certain things in my life. But after God is like my family, my girlfriend, sports, friends, music, traveling, food, fun, those things like that. So that's what I wrote on my paper.
That's beautiful, Eden. And thank you for sharing that. I'll take that right back from you. And just know that we love that you're here with us now, and we appreciate everything that you went through, because it made you the person that's standing right in front of me right now. And well, just to wrap things up now, what do you think your future will look like? We talked about the pandemic, we talked about, actually, no, let's backtrack a little bit. We really didn't talk about academics in Queens. How would you say that all of the restrictions, right after the fully online, right after that, we had to wear a mask, we had a social distance. How did that impact you and your education? And yes.
So it was like, once again, it was a different type of feeling. Got to school finally, spring, it's January, and now you're having this freshman feeling, but you're already been doing college. So the academic part almost came easy. It kind of came like it was secondhand, so I've been doing well in high school, did well online. I was on the dean's list after that semester as well. So it wasn't really a struggle, but it was weird because part of the success in your academics in college is but balancing your free time with academics as well. So trying to figure out your time management became almost like a struggle. So my academics that semester took a hit because it was weird. Like whenever there was an event, you ran to it. Like you wanted to go, but of course you had to follow the rules. And then at one point, I was around somebody who tested positive, so I had to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. So it was weird, and it was a little bit challenging. But academically, after that spring semester, I kind of got back on my feet and got back to the student that I am today.
It's good. It's great to hear that you eventually got back there, and so now we've talked about academics. And so what do you think your future will look like, right? You've struggled all this way. You've been through plenty of hardships, more than a common person would have in their lifetime. What would you say your future has in hold for you?
I think it's such a great question to ask because part of me doesn't know the answer. But what I do know is that I'm set up for success no matter where I go. I have so many connections in terms of CEOs, people that are multimillionaires, connections. My parents, my mom and dad have other connections. My dad's starting his own business right now. So I have so many plans and not plans, but so many options that I can go into. But right now, for my foreseeable future, I'm just going to graduate from Queens, possibly go into a master's degree. But as far as a career, I have a lot of opportunities. Right now I'm currently working for a Spectrum Center, and I can move up the ranks over there. I can work in the entertainment industry. I can work under a CEO. I'm not going to name any names right now. But I can work for a CEO where I met at Spectrum Center. I can work for my dad. I can work for some things that my mom has lined up. So there's a lot of opportunities and options for me. So I know my future has a lot to have in store, but it's really thanks to the journey, like you mentioned, that I've gone through.
And I'm very excited for you. That sounds all very promising. And do you have any additional stories, any other experiences that made you the person that you are today, that you went through during COVID-19 that you would like to share? You don't have to. If anything comes to mind, anything like that was like, oh yeah, this was like the staple point during COVID-19 that impacted me the most. Maybe you already shared it, but it's completely up to you. If there's not, it's completely okay.
I think kind of touched on it a little bit, summer of 2020, after the George Floyd incident, there was a lot of chaos, a lot of uproar, a lot of people was starting to voice their opinions on a lot of pressing matters. And, obviously, like, a lot of people have opinions. Everybody has an opinion. But what I started caring about was seeing or understanding the values and morals of the people who I care about. It's one thing to hear what everybody has to say on the internet, but they don't know you, you don't know them. And, some people get really offended by certain things, especially if, they're politicians or big names or they have a platform, they can get offended by it. But I stopped kind of caring about things like that, about what somebody in the public or that has a platform has to say, because I think at the end of the day, what matters is my own personal beliefs and the people who I have around me and what their beliefs are. Not to say that we all should share the same beliefs, but that's to say that I want to understand how people think, how people perceive things, because I can see something as one way, but let's say like for you, you might not see it the same way. And knowing that we can have, because of that uproar and that chaos, I think it's so important for everybody to at least be on the same wavelength of understanding what each other's perspectives and opinions are. It made me realize that the world, a lot of people thinks the world revolves around them, and it's easy to put out their opinion like it's a fact. And if my people's around me, we all know at least how we feel about something, feel about an important moral belief or anything like that. I think it's good that at least I get to know and hear them. It made me appreciate and treasure people's perspectives, people's perceptions. Even if it's wrong to me, I at least understand where you're coming from. At least I understand how you're thinking about something or why you're thinking about it. And if it wasn't for the pandemic and that stop of everything and everybody having something to say and everybody seeing the same thing and everybody going through the same thing, I don't think I probably would have been late into my 20s or maybe even 30s before I even cared about what somebody has to say. And it even made me value opinions of young ones. I have an 11-year-old sister. So seeing how my sister perceives things and how she started, the pandemic started when she was 8 years old. So she perceives things certain ways that not everybody else will. That's an adult, because things happen at such a young age for her. And since 2020 to now, she's grown so much. And that's because, one, she's a kid, but two, she's also seen a lot of things and been a part of a lot of things. So now that's helped me in my own future, because now I can almost understand a mind of an 8-year-old, because I also started listening to my sister. I also started understanding my sister's perspective. And even though I know some things that she doesn't know, at least I can understand, like, wow, like, this is how she's perceiving this. Like, just because this happened doesn't mean that this happened. It just, that's a complex mindset. And I realize that not everybody around me might think the same way as me, and they might not understand the same things that I understand, but it's made me appreciate and really crave and to know what other people are perceiving or understanding about any given situation.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for your time today, Eden.
For sure.
And all the best in the future. I really hope you accomplish all those dreams and goals you were talking about, and all the best to you and your family.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.